All right. Excuse me. Welcome to our meeting on Monday, February 28th. I'm just going to read this verbiage about our remote meeting rules. So on June 16th, 2021, Governor Baker signed into law an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. This act includes an extension until April 1st, 2022 of the remote meeting provisions of his March 12th, 2020 executive order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Additionally, you are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law.
Good job.
Thanks, Richard. So do we have any additions or changes to the agenda? None. Nothing. Okay. All right. Our first one here is 39 Arrowwood. It's already been open, so I don't need to read anything to open. We have a request to continue to 3/21, March 21st. So
Make a motion to continue 39 Arrowwood Drive to March 1st, 2022.
thanks, Richard. Can I get a second?
Second, Andy.
Thanks, Andy. Oh no, I don't have the cheat sheet. Andy said yes. Richard seconded it. Brendan,
Yes.
Penny,
Yeah.
and Jen. Yes. All right. Keep going,
Sure.
or do we want to? Are there any?
So 145 RR, we're opening it, and I don't think you have the
No.
verbiage to open it. So we could do some administrative items.
Yeah, let's do that.
Can I make a point? I have it as 145 RR Glades Road.
Yes. Oh, and actually I have Frank calling, so I'm gonna go let him in the building and he'll be here. So we'll go right on. So let's just make a pause.
All right,
Okay.
but that's not Jericho Road. It's Glades Road.
Correct.
It's corrected now.
Okay.
How are you, Greg?
Doing well. How are you, Jen?
Yeah, now it's time for us to just like vamp and connect and hear how your winter is going.
Yeah, winter's going well. So
Yeah.
It's almost over.
yeah, soon enough.
Yeah, I can't wait. Gardening season's around the corner and boating season for you.
Yeah, boating season, exactly. Yep.
My
I
tomato
wanna get
season is your
outdoors
boating
again.
season.
Get outside for an extended period.
Oh, for sure. It'll be here before we know it. People will be filling up the community farming with Andy and we'll be off and running.
Yeah, how's your fence coming, Andy?
It is stalled,
Okay,
but working on it.
okay. It's just you want to keep those deer out. I know they're beautiful creatures, but
I'll
they like
trade
to
you
eat.
I'll trade you deer for the skunks that are traipsing through my yard regularly if you want to swap
Oh,
them
you
around.
like skunks?
No, I do not. That's why I'm willing to trade them for deer.
No?
Move to Humrock. There's no skunks here.
Yeah.
Is that true, Bridget?
I think I've seen one in 29 years.
They don't come over the bridge. Interesting.
No, and we've only had 4 deer in 29 years that I've seen.
I can bring you
We do
these
have
skunks if you
coyotes.
want.
We have plenty of coyotes.
Yeah, isn't that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jen will bring some skunks down. She's
Yeah.
gonna catch them this week.
That's fine. You know,
Yeah.
we like wildlife. It's no problem.
Well, according to my research, it's the time of the year where you might get more skunks.
Yes, and it's true of many animals at this time of year. That is true. I expect to see a proliferation of new rabbits pretty soon.
Oh,
And that
No,
will
thank
you.
attract,
Yes.
and that will of course attract the coyotes and the raccoons. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that the Golden Gate Bridge behind you, Amy?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
believe it is, yes.
Yeah, I do
I'm
too.
not in San Francisco. I'm in Scituate.
Okay.
sure.
So for people who just joined, we're just giving Frank a minute to get set up before we read the other ones, since I don't have any of the paperwork.
Yeah, he's here. He'll be on momentarily, so. And Greg's all fired up. I see he's right there too, so we're all set.
Oh yeah, we already talked about how we're all excited for winter to be over.
Raise and rebuild.
Greg, any other fun facts you want to share with us while we wait for Frank?
Fun facts.
Yeah, fun facts. Why not?
How's your dentist doing in your building, Greg?
He seems to be very busy.
Really? Because I don't see that much traffic during the day. Good. I
Monday
hope he
through
is.
Thursday, he's there, and yeah, he seems to enjoy it. It seems like he's got a growing practice.
Yeah.
That's
No.
great.
Yeah,
That's good. Good. When's he going to get Mr. Wall's sign down, though?
probably sometime in the spring.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing some landscaping over there and some other work as well. So,
Okay.
yep.
Where is this building, Greg?
Over off of Country Way, kind of
Where Dr.
diagonally across
Walls
from
used to
Penny.
be.
What was that, Penny?
Where Dr. Walls used to be, diagonally across from me on
Oh,
Country
okay.
Way.
You've got neighborhood watch on your building, Greg. That's nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I
No
keep a
security
close
camera
eye on
needed.
the neighborhood. And when Frankie's in town.
But, yep. That is something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, he's been roaming around with a suitcase and leaving it.
Hi, Frank.
Good evening. Sorry for the
Frank.
delay.
Frank, I'm going to pass the torch to you. It's gonna be
Thanks,
so
Jen.
exciting.
Well, I should have stayed away a little longer.
You didn't enjoy the polite banter. We're ready for 144 RR Glades
Awesome.
Road.
Is there anything we're adding to the agenda or? are we
Nope.
good?
Nope.
Keep it short and simple. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Yep.
Let's see, on February 28th, 2022, 5:30 PM, the Town Hall, Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of William and Susan Murphy for work related to raising and rebuilding a single-family dwelling at location at 145 RR Glades Road, Scituate, Mass. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information access to virtual meetings available on the agenda posted on the town website. So does that mean that there's a building in back of the rear building? You
Yeah.
have an RR?
We have Greg Morse on the call for this.
Okay. Good evening, Greg.
Good evening. For the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the applicant and property owner, William and Susan Murphy. This is a notice of intent associated with the raise and rebuild of a single family home at 145 RR Glades Road. The property itself is relatively small. It's 2,736 square feet. It has an existing home on it. It's located in several resource areas, obviously being a coastal dune on Glades Road, land subject to coastal storm flowage, a FEMA zone AE at 15. For reference, the site is at approximately elevation 9 and 10. And then off the western portion of the site, which is at the bottom of the page here in blue, We've highlighted the edge of the salt marsh grass just off the property. So the proposal here is to take down the existing home and construct a new one. It's largely in the same location. The new home would be constructed on wooden piles. It would be brought into FEMA compliance. The first floor elevation would be proposed at elevation 16, providing a 1-foot freeboard to the floodplain elevation. Also included with this would be construction of a new septic system. The septic system that's at the site today is likely Title V non-compliant, but the new septic system would consist of a Hoot aerobic treatment tank, a pump chamber, and then a pressure-dosed leaching field. We were able to get the leaching field outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. The leaching field would be located under the new house. It can be under the house because the house is elevated up on pilings itself. DEP had no comments with this. I'd turn it over to you for questions or comment.
All right. Amy, do you have anything you want to?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward project as far as a raised rebuild goes in this area. Although we do not have the structural plans on this at this point. And the Board of Health does not have approved plans, so this would just be the house, I guess, but I don't know. I suppose getting it up would be good. It's getting a lot bigger. DEP didn't have a comment, so I don't know what else there is to say, really. We do need the structurals, although, I mean, I suppose you could condition them or could continue just to double, verify that you get them.
Okay. Jen, this is your neighborhood. What are your thoughts?
It is. Yeah, I actually had to kind of dig a little to figure out where RR was. It's kind of surprising. And like the magic you were able to work to get most of the septic out of the 50. So that, given how close it is to the marsh, so congrats on that. But is there any additional proposed driveway or gravel or anything on the site that to know about? Just because it is on top of the marsh,
Sure.
not literally,
Nothing-
figuratively.
Yeah, nothing additionally proposed. Right now, outside of the existing house footprint, to the left of the house, which is on the right-hand side of the screen as you're looking at it here, is where the gravel driveway is now. So the new septic system being under the house, that would remain as gravel under the house because it's elevated on the pilings. The driveway would still be in place as a gravel driveway.
Okay.
Along the left side of the driveway there is a small retaining wall. I think it's about a foot in height. That was required simply because of the elevation of the septic system having to come up above the groundwater table. We had the benefit of doing the septic system next door as well, and you'll notice looking at this plan, the septic on the left-hand side of the site is almost the same configuration. The septic system leaching field is up under the driveway at the top of the lot. There's a retaining wall down the lot line. It's the exact same layout.
Okay, Frank, I'm good.
Not sure who we have on tonight. Richard? See
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I'm here, and I really, actually, Jen stole the one thing that I thought might be important to ask. So I don't have a whole lot other than knowing that we do need the structurals. Tight fit. Impressed with the septic getting out of the 50. That's good. Oh, I do have a question. I'm sorry. How much bigger is this house in square footage to the one that's there now?
So I don't have an exact square footage as far as total gross floor area, because the new house is a 2-story house as opposed to what's there, I believe, is only a single story. But I can tell you what the footprint is.
That'll do it.
The existing footprint is 673 square feet versus the proposed house footprint. Just bear with me a minute.
Mhm.
The proposed footprint's 960.
It's about 50% bigger.
Yeah, does that trigger anything, Frank?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, it's a total raise and rebuild, so you're
Yeah,
taking a
right.
non-conforming structure, and at least in terms of the foundation and all that, making it conforming.
Okay.
Greg, did they have to go to the ZBA for that, or are they okay because they're the same distance off the property line?
They did have to go to the ZBA for it. It was unanimously approved.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm good.
Penny?
Yeah, the only thing I'm looking for, does this need, oh, never mind, my brain just went completely blank. Erosion
plan?
control.
So I believe along the back of the site, we have a dashed line that goes up the side lot lines as well, which is the erosion control barrier.
Okay, yes, I
Yeah.
see it now. The dash line. Okay, just because you have to take down a
Yep.
house, so. Okay, no, other than that, it looks fine. They're just getting bigger. All the houses down there. The little summer cottages are no longer
That's right.
in.
Okay. Is Andy with us?
Mhm.
I'm here, but all my questions have been answered.
Okay. I had seen an email from Doug that he wasn't gonna make it. He's not in, right?
Brendan's here, though.
Correct.
Is Brendan, he said that he might be running late, had technical difficulties. Is he on?
He's here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Brendan, any thoughts, comments?
No, my questions have been answered.
Do we have anybody in the audience?
Nope.
I guess I just pulled up the filing and I'm seeing a piling plan with beams from Rivermore attached to this.
That's correct. It was attached, I believe, as an appendix to the notice of intent.
I guess somebody asked about a driveway or where people park or something, Greg.
Sure.
Not sure if I heard that, if it's under the house or.
So where they park right now is, if you're looking at the screen here, it's to the right side of the house. That's the existing driveway. They'll continue to park there on the right side.
And is that gravel?
Yes, it is.
And I'm assuming most of this lot is all cobble? Or
Yeah.
sand?
Yep, it's cobble and sand.
I think I'm good. I mean, seeing that we have the piling plan, we know that there's no other structures or anything. I wouldn't be opposed to close. We could make it pending the rest of the
The Board of Health.
structural information in the Board of Health. Yeah. If anybody wants to.
I'll
Amy,
make a
are you-
motion.
Amy, you good with that?
Yes,
So make a motion to close pending waiting for the Board of Health and the structural plans to come in.
So motion from Penny. Do we have a second?
Second from Jen.
Great. All in favor? Richard
Yes,
and Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes,
Frank, yes. Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, 149 Rebecca Road. On February 28, 2022 at 5:30 PM in the Town Hall, Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Mass General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Daniel and Wendy Sullivan for work related to building a detached garage for a single-family dwelling at location 49 Rebecca Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting is available in the agenda posted on the town website.
Frank, I have Paul Mirabito on the line for this.
Okay,
Hi, Frank.
good evening, Paul.
Good evening. The applicant resides on the opposite side of the street as the proposed accessory outbuilding at 49 Rebecca Road. The parcel in question is a vacant parcel of land with 2,956 square feet. It's been historically maintained as a lawn and a small garden area. On the southwest side of Rebecca Road, as you can see in photographs, there's several existing dwellings and garages that are there at the present time. To the rear of the lot, there's a vegetated wetland line that was delineated by Brad Holmes. That was based upon soils and the groundwater. To the rear of that is a degraded old salt marsh, which has been overtaken by the Phragmites. To the southwest of the locust, there's lawn areas on the abutting properties. The photographs I show that I include in the notice of intent show that this site in question is an area where they also store the boats for winter storage there. There's a construction trailer there as well. The garage has been pushed as close to the road as we can using the average setback of 18.8 feet, where 30 feet is normally required. The entrance to the garage would be from Rebecca Road. There's no other proposed use for the lot. There's no changes in the elevations of the land. The first floor of that would be approximately 1 foot above the existing grade, as it's in a AE zone. This structure is allowed by right according to the building inspector. And the applicant is looking to utilize it as part of his dwelling across the street, which does not have a garage. So I think with that, I'll end and answer any questions the members may have.
Okay. Richard, I
just-
actually, Amy, do you want to
Yep, better.
give us your thought on that one?
Yeah, so, I mean,
It's huge.
I don't think this one is so good. I think it needs a little more information before you would possibly want to issue a permit on this one for a host of reasons, such as accuracy of the resource area and also further evaluation of the flood hazard area. The flood hazard maps are not always accurate. As we know, this location on Cedar Point is very prone to coastal storm damage and flooding. And, you know, I just don't think a new building would be the way to go here. I had a brief consultation with CZM. They've offered to give you some technical advice on this one if needed. So you should let me know about that. I mean, I think that review of aerial photographs show that, you know, this whole area on the backside of Rebecca where there are no homes, you know, has definitely been altered. And I definitely would question the accuracy of the wetland line, seeing how I think it's probably been filled.
Okay. Paul, I kind of distracted there for a second. What did you say this is going to be built on? I mean, I'm just seeing a square.
In an AE zone, I believe I submitted some structural plans for that. Just give me a second here.
Yeah.
Frank, it's AE 15 mapped.
No, Frank, the structural plans weren't in, but they're proposing to put it on a reinforced concrete foundation with a slab, as it's in an AE zone where there are no performance standards. As I mentioned earlier, the top of the garage slab would be approximately 1 foot above the street elevation, just to give it slope back out to the street. The lot slopes from the street back to the rear of the lot. The street's at about elevation 8.5 to 9, and the back of the lot is at elevation 6. So I need to bring in any fill to raise the area, the lawn area. The land around the garage will remain as lawn, with the exception of the proposed garage coming, I mean, the proposed driveway coming into the garage, which is a gravel driveway. The placement of the garage would only allow the parking of 1 or 2 cars in front of the garage. Whereas now they're parking several boats and other vehicles on the property throughout the course of the year, and especially in the winter, as the photographs show. But once the building is there, the only parking would be inside and in front of the garage.
Penny? Thanks, Paul.
That's a big garage.
Actually, it's 30 foot 8 inches by 23 feet 8 inches.
To me, that's big. I mean, you look at the garage next door. But anyways, I don't know. I know there's other ones over there. I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea. I know every storm, it is going to be flooded. It goes right into the marsh, the wetlands, whatever you want to call it, between out there, between the houses on the front and the back of the harbor. I don't know. I'm just going to pass on. I don't know if it's a good idea or not.
Okay. Jen?
I would echo Penny's sentiments and would just want Amy the opportunity to kind of do more due diligence on it.
Okay. Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm fairly consistently hesitant about these storage units in flood-prone
Yeah.
locations, and this is the biggest one I've seen yet. So I guess I've heard the concerns about it, and I guess I share them.
Brendan?
Yeah, I agree with everyone that I'm concerned about this. I don't know that it's a very good idea. But I don't have any specific questions at the moment.
Okay. So Amy, what you alluded to, maybe confirming that the resource area, wetlands line.
Yeah,
and-
I think I would start my approach maybe with a little more diligence on the flood hazard area. Because, I mean, if this area is really actually in the limit of moderate wave action, which is, it's not on the plan, it shows that it's right on the edge, but if it really actually is within that Limois area, then it wouldn't be a question about whether or not that, it would be permitted. I mean, another thing that's missing here is sediment information as far as like, is this a sandy underneath, or is it more till? So I'm not sure exactly what the resource area is. So that goes for accuracy of the resource area. And then also proximity to the buffer to the BVW. Looks like that area, given it, it weren't filled on that side of Rebecca, that probably that entire Abigail stretch would go to the road. So, and again, that the literature and the studies that the town has performed in this area all show that this area is going to be under water on a regular high tide cycle in the not so distant future. So putting a new, permitting a new accessory building in this area would not be the best decision.
Can I, Frank?
Sure.
Is there, say Phil was brought in 15, 20 years ago, is there a limit how far back we can go on something like that, Amy? Because I don't remember in the recent past of ever seeing that raised up compared to on each side of it, to the left and right. But, say 20 years ago that they brought Phil in. I mean, is there a time frame on something like that?
Well, generally the timeframes under the Wetlands Protection Act that we look to are like 1986 and 1978 for coastal.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I just, because maybe at some point they all brought in Phil. But I don't remember it, but that doesn't mean anything.
Well, a lot of these structures, were, well, Penny, probably, I mean, for sure, that they were totally demolished in 78.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting.
And in fact, the owners of this property, the Cape, directly across the street, is on solid foundation, but it was rebuilt in 78 following that storm after they left the house there. But I don't think that records show that there was ever anything on this lot.
No.
And there's a number of other empty lots on Rebecca on this side of the street.
Right. Yes. Yeah. All right. Frank, what are your questions?
It's also in the Scituate floodplain, which is a zoning reg.
So,
What
Paul,
does that impact, Amy?
Well, the Scituate floodplain watershed protection district is anything less than 12 feet is not buildable, not permitted to be built upon. But I know that Paul,
If I can interrupt that, that's not,
building commissioner,
that's not correct.
Paul, let Amy finish and then you can address
yeah.
that.
Well, so, okay, anyways, there's a map, and if you're in this area of the watershed or floodplain, and you're mapped in that area, then, there's special provisions that apply that would prohibit from building.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Paul, do you want to respond to that?
Yes, I'd like to make a few comments. To respond to Amy's last comment, in the zoning bylaw, in the floodplain and watershed protection district, you can construct an accessory structure as a matter of right. That's in a separate paragraph in section 470. The other thing I'd point out is that the first floor of this will be about a foot above the existing grade. There's no proposed living space in it. As such, the first floor does not have to be brought up to the AE elevation of 15. There would be breakout panels on the wall to let water flow in and out as required. There are no performance standards in the AE zone, and this lot is not subject to wave action as it's not in a velocity zone. The houses across the street, the front portions of them are in the velocity zone, I believe, but the most recent FEMA map has placed this area in an AE zone. As far as the resource area, Brad Holmes, and you have his report, he based it upon the soils conditions out there. They're pretty obvious where the line of the upland soils versus the wetland soils started and ended, and that's what he based the line on that's shown on the plan. Everything to the southwest of that is the Phragmites. People have mowed some of them down, as you can see in the lawn area there. But this site has been maintained as a lawn in a garden for several years. As I pointed out earlier, if you look at the pictures, you can see that along this side of the road, there's several structures, including dwellings that are in a relatively same location as where we're proposing this building. And again, we've kept the building as close to the street as we can in order to comply with the zoning bylaw. It's 18.8 feet as opposed to a 30-foot setback that's required, and we're using the average setback. I'm not sure why CZM needs to get involved in this because there's no performance standards, and in the most recent map from the firm map from 2016 put this in a AE zone. It's clearly not in the velocity zone. So again, we did check with the building department to make sure that this building could be built as a matter of right. And once we received the affirmative answer, the applicant asked us to proceed and file this application with the Conservation Commission.
Okay. So Amy, if we're going to ask Paul for additional information, I'm just wondering what we just.
Well,
sure.
how about if you start with a site visit and reaching out to coastal for technical opinion from CZM about the flood hazard area.
Well,
And
the flood hazard area has already been determined. I mean, that's been set by FEMA on their 2016 map, and it didn't change the maps. Were revised this past summer, and there are no revisions made in this area. I mean, again,
actually, that there are mapping errors, so I'm not sure if this is in an errored location, like it's faulty in this spot. So on-site evidence can overcome the FEMA panel.
And I'm not sure why CZM needs to get involved. I don't see any reason for it. I think this is a straightforward application. And again, this is in an area that's already been altered. It's been maintained as a lawn and a garden for several years. The other thing, the proposed building isn't going to alter the resource area. The runoff from that roof is clean water. The surface of the ground is going to be kept the same as the lawn. So with the addition of the roof area with clean water versus the lawn, there'd be no degradation of the Phragmites, which you all know is a very invasive species. That's probably why some of the neighbors have been cutting it back over time. But this building would not have any negative impact or cause any alteration to the resource area to the rear of the property.
So Paul, this isn't on piers. This is a poured foundation with a concrete slab inside the building.
Yes, that's the plan because it's in an AE zone.
And the only thing that's there right now is a lawn or,
There's a lawn there. The pictures I submitted to you show 3 or 4 boats with the shrink wrap on them. There's what looks like a construction trailer there. They do park vehicles there in the summertime. But with a proposed building, the parking of those vehicles would go away. They don't have room to park on the side of the building. So if they're gonna park, they'd park on the street or right in front of the building. There's just enough room for the vehicles, given the proximity to the edge of the paving and Rebecca Road.
well, I mean, it sounds like there's enough of a concern with the commission that I'm wondering if we shouldn't try to get out, or at least a few members take a look at the site. To be honest, I did not go there prior to this meeting. I understand how you derive the setback from the street. I guess the other option they would have is to request a variance. If they want to try, I mean, you're only, what, about 23 feet from the edge of the wetland?
The back of the building is it's about 23 feet.
So our bylaw says 50.
Right.
And you're proposing to build, and I don't see any mitigation, Paul, and you want to have a building within 23 feet of the wetland.
Other Phragmites, yeah. Actually,
But-
it's the line that Brad flagged was based upon the soils. The actual vegetation is back further, as we show on the plan. We located those by field survey.
Yeah.
The edge of the Phragmites, they're probably 30 to 40 feet off the building, but everything around it has been maintained as a lawn.
Yeah, I get it. I mean,
See on the site visit.
you're a little bit stuck there, but again, we have a 50-foot no build, and you're half that to this building. And no mitigation proposed.
What would the commission be looking for mitigation?
I think that's probably why we should have a site visit, and whether that's even something that they want to consider, but most times when we get applications for something in the buffer zone, we do look for mitigation. So I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, if they want to visit the site and continue this till we
I'll
can
go
do
out
that.
there.
Is that Richard?
Yep.
Okay.
I feel pretty familiar with it already, but
I mean,
If it works, I'll
we
be
don't
there.
have to do it formally. Anybody could take a ride by, but I'd like to
Mhm.
maybe visit it with Amy and Paul if you could be around. Just seems like it would be good if Paul were there or somebody from your office.
Yeah, I'd like to be there.
Well, I'd like to walk it, Frank. I mean, I drive by it all the time when I go out to the lighthouse, but I'd like to walk it. I'm just wondering if, I don't like the slab at all. And I don't know. I think we need to take a little field trip. Thank you.
All right, let's see what we can set up.
Okay, it is relevant whether or not the accuracy of the flood hazard area. You know what I mean? It's like.
What determines that, Amy? Is
always
it,
true that the maps are accurate.
is it an elevation line, or Paul, what makes that line? What gives us that? How do you delineate that?
The FEMA maps.
So that's the line on the map. It's not an elevation.
No, the FEMA map shows this whole area to be in an AE zone. The line separating the velocity zone from the AE zone is on the other side of Rebecca Road. That's why we put the note on the plan saying that there's note number 3 saying that the locus is in zone AE 15. If the firm line or FEMA line went through the property or close to it, we would show that on the plan, but It isn't anywhere near this lot. It's on the other side of the road toward the ocean.
Okay.
So when do you want to continue this to and try and get out there?
April 4th.
April 4th? Okay,
Wait. You're
yeah,
saying continue this to April 4th? Amy?
that's,
That's what I'm saying, based on the volume of filings that we have in front of us. Yes.
4/4.
What do we have for meetings?
That would be 3 meetings away, Frank.
So we have one next Monday as well,
Yeah,
Yes.
and then another one.
on the 3rd, Monday.
All right, well, you don't think we can get that in before that? Amy? We already have the agenda set up.
We
for-
have our agendas set for the next couple of meetings, Frank. We
Okay.
have just been slammed with new filings. But
All right, well then, let's do it for the 4th and let's try to get something set up in the next couple of weeks. So we have time, and then if Paul needs to get some information, he can get it to us so that we don't have to push it out again.
sounds good.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to continue 49 Rebecca to April 4th.
Okay, that was Penny. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
Great. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Okay, let's, maybe, Paul, you can reach out to Amy and me or so we can get a time set up to go out there.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thanks, Paul. 75 Jericho Road. On February 28th, 2022 at 5:30 PM, the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, the Mass General Laws, and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Robert Morris Spence for work related to building a detached garage and expanding an existing driveway for a single-family dwelling at a location at 75 Jericho Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meetings available on the agenda posted on the town website. Okay. Just you again, Mr. Arbito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant owns and resides at the existing dwelling shown on the plan. What they're proposing to do is to construct a new garage in the location shown on the plan. Also, they want to expand slightly the existing paved driveway, which is on the right side of it as you approach the garage. I submitted the structural plans for the
Yeah.
proposed garage as well. There's no changes in the proposed grade. There was an existing garage there, which has been removed. The FEMA map, we just by way of history on the site, Ross Engineering prepared an existing conditions plan for the owners when they purchased the property back in, I think, sometime around 2014. And up until last June, when the maps were revised by FEMA in July 6th of 2021, this entire site was in Zone X. It is now in FEMA Zone AE 15. So that's the reason for us submitting the notice of intent, because it is in land subject to coastal storm flowage. The structural plan shows the construction of the garage, which is to the right side of the house. Their access is off of the side street, which is Brookline Road. It's in the same relative position as the original garage, which was fairly old. There's only a 7.7% increase in the impervious area on the site with the new structure, so that does not require any stormwater application to the commission. I think with that, I'll answer any questions the members may have.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Amy?
But Frank, I think this one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And no DEP comment. I don't have too much to say about this one. I mean, it's the building, the structure will definitely need to meet coastal, building code. But otherwise, probably okay.
Okay. Who wants to go first? Andy?
I think I'm good on this one.
Brendan?
I have no questions.
Penny?
Yeah, the proposed extension of the driveway, that's gonna be the same material, right?
Yes.
Okay. No, otherwise, it's just a little bigger garage. It looks okay to me. Thank you.
Jen?
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
Richard?
I'm okay also.
Do we have anybody in the audience for this one?
Doesn't look like it.
Paul, did anybody look to see where there would be a wetlands like Amy off property? Because that whole back area is pretty wet, like where it says Renendes.
This is an area of single-family homes. The land actually slopes up from Brookline Road going up to Barker Road.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
but in back
I mean, we didn't see any wetlands out there.
is there a locus for this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a locus map on the plan.
Got it. Just trying to get orientated with where like they keep the docks and stuff for Scituate Marine. There was, and the fuel tanks on the other side of the road, Paul.
I don't know if this is that.
Maybe I'm in the wrong, I guess it's the other side. It's between Pearl Road and Jericho is where that's wet. I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not in that location. This is in
No,
that triangle.
it's just above it. I get it. Okay. Just want to make sure Paul's looked it all over carefully.
I don't want you to get lost, Frank.
Yeah. All right.
Can we close it?
You may.
I make a motion to close.
Second on that.
I'll second it.
Second from Jen. Oh, Richard beat me.
Sorry.
Take that one from Richard this time. So all in favor, Jen?
Yep.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. Okay, thanks, Paul.
Thank you very much.
143 River Street on February 28th, 2022 at 5:30 PM in the Town Hall. Situate Conservation Commission will hold a hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Mass General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Darren and Sarah Hood for work related to a septic system repair for a single-family dwelling at location 143 River Street, Scituate, Mass. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information and access. The virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website.
Wow.
We've got Greg Morse on. I'm going to unmute him.
Good evening, Greg Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner, Sarah and Darren Hood. This is a septic system repair project at 143 River Street, which is down in the Hummerock section of town. Looking at the screen here, River Street's at the bottom of the page. Below River Street would be the South River, a tidal river, and extending off of that, highlighted in purple, are the 100-foot inner riparian zone in the 200-foot riverfront area. The existing site is relatively small. It's depicted by the black bold line. Existing home at the site has a failed septic system in the backyard. The proposal here is to put a new septic system in its place. The new septic system is in the backyard, consisting of a 1,500-gallon septic tank, a distribution box, and leaching chambers. With respect to the wetland resource areas, septic system repair projects are exempt from the riverfront standards, and all of the work anyways is outside of the 100-foot inner riparian zone. Secondly, being in land subject to coastal storm flowage, this is in a zone AE at elevation 14. For reference, the site exists at elevation 10. With the proposed septic system, we're not altering the grades at all. The finished ground surface matches the existing ground surface elevation at the site. There's no change in topography. I would add that the area where the septic system is proposed is currently paved surface. We're actually removing that pavement when the septic system goes in, so that the backyard here we've specified would be replaced with just a loam and seed, a grass surface, when the project is done.
Good.
I turn it over to you. DEP had no comments.
Thank you, Greg. Amy?
Yeah, I mean, agreed. DEP had no comments, and agreed that, as you can see on the site plan, this is a very altered site in Hummerock. So barrier beach, land subject to coastal storm flowage, coastal dune. It looks to me like it's a old, it's a pretty old summer cottage, at least back even before the 50s, I think, on grade. And I mean, if we could get more improvement than just the area where the septic is, where we could see additional improvement would be good. I do see that the lot across the street, which is riverfront, is also under the same ownership. And it would be, these orders could be a good opportunity to point out what's needed, come into compliance for any work across the way too. But otherwise, I have no comment.
Richard, there's your neck of the woods.
Strictly from the standpoint of the improved septic, it's really good. Very small lot, very tight. It is across the street from the river and behind another house. It's kind of the inland part of the beginning of the peninsula. And no, I don't have a problem with this particular part.
Okay. Penny?
No, I'm happy.
Okay. Andy?
It looks good to me.
Brendan?
Looks good.
Jen?
Yeah, I guess I just had one question. Amy made a comment about the other side of the road that the same person owns not being in compliance. Just wondering what how that might relate to this getting done, if they could be linked, or what the strategy might be there.
No, Jen, not linked, but it would just a good opportunity to bring up to the owners, because it looks like it's changed ownership, that, when you any work on the river does require permitting.
Uh-huh.
Anything seaward or on the other side of a wall is chapter 91, so waterways permit. So just a good opportunity to have the conversation and engage so that we can try to bring things into compliance across the street.
Are
Are
they
they-
out of
is there something-
compliance?
Yeah, that's my
Well,
question.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's some sort of wall type thing going on. But I think
No?
also related to neighbor.
Rich, would you think that most of that's been there a while?
Well, the house is definitely old, that whole area.
Yeah.
Amy is right, is probably from the 50s. Yeah.
And the
That
same
would be
thing
true.
across the street?
No,
that-
across the street, that house actually, I think, and I have to emphasize the word think, we had issues with the former owners of that house maybe 7 or 8 years ago when I was first on the commission. But I don't think it's the same owners. And I'm not sure that there's anything, I'm not sure that there's any new wall there. The wall that I can think of that's there is well, at least 10 years old and probably older.
Yeah, and we got no relief on that.
That's
from the-
correct. That's why I
Um,
say, but I don't think it's these owners. They may own it now, but I don't think they did at the time.
Yeah. The Army Corps of Engineers never came to our rescue.
That is
on that one.
correct. Yep.
Yeah.
You remember that, Frank, when we had that issue?
No, you and Penny must
Oh,
be.
you remember it.
No,
Frank.
you were
It was
there before I
nasty.
was.
I thought you guys were eating more blueberries than I am or something.
Somewhere in this stretch, there's that illegal like put in, you know?
Well, there's a concrete ramp that's showing. on this
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah, well, that was there. But there was the wall behind the house.
That's right. And there was a controversy about the Army Corps. And they
And they
never
weren't
did
supposed
respond. I
to put
remember
it there.
Paul, when he was on the commission, he had huge issues
Yeah.
with that. And he was
Yeah.
right.
Because he watched them do it.
Yep.
And the Army Corps was supposed to come down and they never came. I don't know now where the ramp and then south of there, this man's property, I have no idea what's going on there. Because I haven't been down there lately.
No, there's been nothing recently that I know of.
Okay.
But I think we also, I like the idea of Amy bringing this up on the one hand. On the other hand, this particular project across the street separately, I just don't see an issue.
Yeah, well, we could just tell them,
Yep, I think we just did.
make sure you don't do anything over there unless you come to us.
I'll make sure the applicant's aware of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Greg, I got a few questions. I mean, I'm looking at this lot and almost like the whole lot is either concrete or asphalt.
That's correct. It's paved from one property line all the way to the other. The entire
Yeah.
lot is paved.
Out to the street.
Yep, right out to the street, right to the rear lot line. So
Frank,
we're removing the asphalt where the septic system's going and putting in grass in the backyard.
Oh, boy.
So if we're from the back of the house, you're gonna have to remove the asphalt for the tank and up to the shed. So that whole corner from the back of the house to the property line
Correct.
will be a grass surface. What is an IM 1530 infiltrator septic tank? That seems different than,
It's a plastic septic tank as opposed to a concrete septic tank.
Oh,
Just because access to the backyard is limited, the only way in is between the shed and the house, which is only about 6 feet in width. So this would all be done with like a mini excavator, smaller equipment. It's a plastic tank is the short answer.
okay. And so they will maintain a small lawn or something back there.
Correct.
Well, I guess, yeah, in both cases, I mean, emphasizing to folks that, you know, the commission's trying to get more impervious areas out there.
Frank,
Yeah, go ahead.
a 30-second history lesson for that end of Hummerock. Most of those houses were originally just summer cottages. They were built back in the late 30s or maybe up to 50. And at that time, there were no restrictions on putting concrete, and many of the lots are almost 100% concrete or maybe have a few roses around the edges. And we've dealt with this a few times in a few places where we've insisted previously that they make places for plantings and stuff like that down in that end of Humrock.
Well, I guess if they were looking for a new driveway or something, I'd be insistent. I think your point,
Absolutely.
yeah, your point right in the beginning, to have a, you know, an upgraded septic system is mitigation in itself, but hopefully people will start to see the benefits of not having a totally asphalt yard.
You're right. And anytime we get it, we should push on that and get the chance.
Just looking at it thinking, oh God, there's no, between the concrete pad and asphalt. It's,
Oh, Lord.
well, whatever you like. Okay. So I guess I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to close.
Second,
Second, Andy.
all in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Okay,
Moving on.
so 126 Turner Road, after the fact filing, Amy? Do I
Yeah,
have something to read
is
on
there-
that?
We're opening it, so do you have something to read?
Jen's grabbing a sheet. I don't even have another one I could wing it off of. Thanks, Jen. On February 28th, 2022, at a regular 5:30 PM meeting, Town Conservation Commission will act on the request of Jeffrey Lance for a determination of applicability to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activities related to repairing pavers by the front entrance and repairing a driveway with concrete over crushed granite rock at dwelling located at 126 Turner Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. This meeting information to access the meeting is available on the agenda posted on the town website. So who do we have on for this?
Looks like Jeff and Wendy Lance, I'm gonna unmute them. And, but just keep in mind, this is an after the fact filing, so
Yep.
hold on.
They've already done the work.
Okay.
Okay, you're on, Jeff.
All right, thank you. Yeah, my wife is here too. It's just for whatever reason, it's not showing up. I guess it's smart enough to only pick out one person. But yeah, so I think you got the basics. And I mean, this is basically, words can't probably describe, how much of the, water has run off through there, from our storms. We bought the house about 2 years ago. And since then, we had the storm of December 17th and then February 2nd of last year, and then October this year, and then obviously the blizzard we just had. And starting back in August, I began a dialogue with the Conservation Commission's office. I was interested in finding out, what I had to do to, do this right. Visited the office. Jennifer was very helpful, answered my question and gave me the current site map that we're looking at. I then began trying to get estimates from contractors, and during COVID, that was kind of difficult, but finally, 2 contractors did visit the site and eventually provided me estimates. And they basically said, based on the history of storms and the damage that was already done there that they witnessed, that they felt, concrete was the only viable solution. They, if it was going to last more than a couple of years and to keep, more damage from going back into the marsh area, the wetlands. So then after the storm in February, the highway department came by. They dumped several yards of the dense road material at the top of the driveway to prevent the sidewalk from further damage and collapsing. But unfortunately, in the next storm, all that material was washed into the marsh along with, more gravel from my driveway. That the last storm, the big one, not the last one, but the one in October, caused a lot of damage, exposed my my septic clean out, exposed the my water valve cut off, and undercut my my foundation for my stairs, and started eating away at my pilings for my deck in the back. So I knew I had to kind of act kind of quick. The contractor that I agreed to said that, unless we get started, by at least by the end of November, he felt that he wouldn't be able to, have enough time to get the work done and get concrete in there, so it would properly cure. So I went ahead with the work, and knowing that, if I did try to go through the process, not saying it was right, but if I went through the process of the commission, it would probably take at least 4 weeks, and I'd lose my window. And knowing that we probably have another storm, which we did, right, our blizzard, January 29th, I'd get more erosion. So I got the contractor. We started working on December 1st. He finished the work on December 22nd. And then I was down in Scituate the whole time for all the work. And then when I got back, I was happy the work was done, but unfortunately we had received the notice of violation on December 24th. So at that point I contacted, Amy's office again to figure out, what I needed to do. So that's kind of where we are. You could see the damage on the property. And the driveway was previously, it was gravel there, but underneath the gravel, once after the first couple of storms, it was all asphalt. Huge chunks of asphalt were there. And I talked to my next door neighbor there, and she said, yeah, it was asphalted. Hers was asphalted at one time. And, the storms I had, it was like 2015 or so, wiped it out. And it's all, huge chunks are still there, and you could still see some of them in the marsh that got pushed down the driveway. So the good news is, on the 29th, when we had the blizzard and the water came over the seawall again, I was down there, and the water came down very, uniformly. And, unlike when it was coming down in the gravel, it was about a, 3-4 foot deep gravel, 3 or 4 feet wide, 5 feet wide. And it came down with, quite a bit of velocity. Now it was kind of coming down, uniformly, only, 3 or 4 inches deep. And it was a lot less damage. It hardly moved any of the, stones or anything down at the end of the driveway. So to me, it seemed like kind of a win-win. It seems like it's better for the runoff, better for the marsh. And I have a driveway to pull into and a way to get into my house. So.
I'm going to send this to Amy and the other members. But just, you mentioned that you had been talking with Amy prior to this. You were at town hall, so you were aware that you should file for work that you wanted to do.
Yeah, well, I was aware that if it was within 100 feet of the wetlands, and I wasn't really sure how to determine and measure. It's like at the end of the driveway, it's even on the map, it doesn't show as wetlands, it shows as uplands. And it leads down to, if you're familiar with, it's by the basketball court, a
Yep.
couple houses down from the basketball court there in that common area. So exactly where the wetlands are versus the uplands, I'm not really sure. So, but, I was gonna, put in the request for determination, but then, as I said, we kind of got caught up with, not being able to get the quote in time. And then all of a sudden the winter was pushing on us. So I did make the decision to go ahead and get the work done, trying to kind of save what was left of, and I kind of needed to do something because with both the sewage thing exposed and then my water into the house, I had to have something over that. Otherwise, I was afraid it would freeze. Not being buried under 3 or 4 feet of something. So I just felt I was kind of pressured to kind of get a move on and do something.
All right. Amy,
And
do you
my
wanna-
drive, and just, my neighbor's driveway too, she had the cobblestone and the water was starting to go in. Actually, her driveway was starting to collapse from both ways. The water was going underneath her house. She's on pilings and starting to eat away underneath her driveway from one side. And then it was coming, over the sidewalk on my driveway and starting to eat in there. So she had a guy come, I think 2 or 3 different times. The guy who originally put the driveway in and kept trying to repair it. But, the water would just keep eating away. There was no way to keep that water from kind of cavitating in there. So it kind of helps her out a little bit as well now that it's solid.
Okay. Thank you. Amy, do you want to,
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's a tough area, right? So we're on Turner. We're right on the coast. So we're, the applicable jurisdiction is flood zone and buffer to BVW. Clearly, permission is needed for any move that you make in this area, which was under discussion with Mr. Lance. But so he went ahead and did it, and now is asking for permission, to keep it in place. So I guess it begs the question of whether you would have allowed it in the first place. So back to the fact that this is a tough area and that it's quite altered down there. I think that you guys all have been around, and even, people on this call have been around and seen that, for the interest of storm damage prevention and flood control, that they want you to get up out of the way and not put anything in the way to make it worse. So that would be walls. Solid surfaces also accelerate flood waters and velocity and create diversion of the water. So that's going to create erosion and problems. So this area is small, though. I guess that it blends in with the rest of the areas that are paved down there. I don't know. It's tough. I think that at the end of the day, you probably would say that this meets a negative finding, but I'll let you toss it around and see how you want to handle it, because it's definitely after the fact. But you have given permission in this area for solid surfaces.
Yeah, and Amy, if I may, one of the pictures, and I can't tell you which way to go. You're probably near the end, so maybe it's back the other way. It was an aerial picture, and it showed my property and 2 houses
That's
down.
what the drawing looked like.
Yeah.
So just scroll down 1 second so you can see. I mean, this is what where if it was the gravel driveway beforehand, and how every storm the water does flow down our driveway. It's definitely the place where every storm it's coming down that driveway. So every storm, the gravel kept ending up in the marsh behind the house.
Yeah, but yeah, I think if you go back the other way, you'll see the aerial shot that shows probably like two or three houses. I think.
There you go.
There we go, the first one. So if you look over on the right, you could see that large lot that's paved with the asphalt. And the water flows down there kind of uniformly, and you can see like the vegetation is growing right at the very end of that asphalt, because it doesn't come down like in one little gully, with a lot of velocity. It kind of spreads out uniformly. And whereas, you can see at the end of my driveway, it turns, just because of the topography, it turns to the right. And you could see how it was, all the vegetation was worn out all the way through there. And even that sand that's behind, it looks like it's behind where that large asphalted parking lot is, but that's actually all the stuff that's gone down my driveway and kind of hooked over to the right a little bit. Probably estimated 50 or 60 yards of gravel that washed out. Whereas, so I'm really thinking that I'm hoping, just based on what I observed with the way the concrete and it flows, it's probably flowing just as fast, or maybe it is coming down faster, but it's uniform and it's spread out over the 12 or 13 foot distance of the driveway very uniformly. And already just that one storm, I noticed that it's not washing all that sand, back further. And so I'm kind of like pointing out, I guess what Amy said is that, hopefully in this particular case, it's gonna help, rather than be more of a problem. And I certainly wanted to stay away from the asphalt. I could have saved a lot of money going with asphalt, but in my mind, that's, there's petroleum, it's a petroleum product, and that's the last thing I would want leaching into the wetlands. So definitely wanted to stay away from that, just for the sake of kind of staying green, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Let me start with Penny. If there's any, Amy, you're all set for right now?
Yes.
Penny?
So thanks a lot, Frank. It's kind of a case of you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. I mean, I don't remember letting somebody put down a new asphalt over there, Amy. So I'm a little confused there. I do sympathize with his predicament. Those pictures are terrible, how his driveway was dug out. I, of course, wish he had followed the proper procedure that he started to, and possibly we could have worked something out. But there's definitely been a violation here, so I really don't know how we're going to handle it, because he blatantly went and did what he wanted to do without coming to us. And I understand his predicament, but it's sad because I don't want this to happen again. We do try to work with people, sir. We're not here just to be bad and make you do everything, exactly the way we want it. We do work with people. And this is a really unfortunate situation. But I do see what you're saying, and but I don't know what to do. I'm really in a pickle, because I feel for you, but on the other hand, it's a no what you did, sir. End of story,
Yeah.
Frank.
Okay. Richard?
Well, pictures are very disturbing from what it used to be and the way that was eaten up. And of course, only a longer term will tell us if this is going to be a system that would work. if it stays there. I guess I would move on already and simply say, there's a big sand area behind at the back of that. And I'm wondering if there's any way we could even improve on the growth that's behind the house and some degree of mitigation, and see if we can do something with that.
That's a good idea.
And I also say, and I guess this is just an opinion, that sometimes the rules don't always fit what goes on, and this might be one of those cases. And I know we're not supposed to allow exceptions and all of that, but sometimes, you got to look at what's going on. And just, as I said, this might be a better solution for this particular individual situation. But that's right, we should have gone through the process. I'm done.
Thank you. Brendan?
Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss as well, of course. Kind of with, I guess, Penny on. I don't know what to do. Perhaps Richard is making some sense here, obviously, and maybe there's some mitigation to be done. And of course, this is after the fact, so yeah, I think I'll stop because I'm rambling. So,
Okay. Thank you. Andy?
It's a tricky one. Yeah, I mean, clearly I understand. I recognize the challenge and the issue that was there. And I don't know if we need to separate out two things. One is the paving of the driveway and the impervious, but then there's also, I think, walls were added too, right, along the driveway. And I do feel like we've been pretty strict about saying no additional walls in these zones. So I have to look a little closer. I don't know if we take the wall down, but leave the driveway. Maybe look at those separately. And I guess I'm not an expert on this, so the paving seems to have helped because it was all washing away. But what are there other options that would have fixed this without making an impervious surface? I guess is my question. I don't have that answer, but that's what I'm wondering. I mean, we've asked people to vegetate surfaces. I don't know, were there better options than putting down paving?
Okay. Jen?
I really appreciate going last because I think I feel the way Penny feels. A lot of that. I would agree. There definitely, regardless of whatever the resolution is here, needs to be some plantings and mitigation. But I think Andy's point on considering the walls separately is definitely something that I think is a worthwhile thing to potentially split out. That's me.
Okay. So I guess you've cut the gist of the commission, Mr. Lance. It's I think people are sympathetic to the problems that you're having. But I also think that there was probably some ways that this could have been done that would have been more keeping in line with how we're trying to deal with issues in that area. In most cases, we're trying to avoid impervious places. You're saying that big paved area on the house next to you is a good idea because somehow the water sheets down there. But if we were talking to a coastal geologist or someone for that, they'd tell you that area just speeds up the water and moves it further down the way, and they wouldn't condition all of that. There'd be some kind of material, stone, whatever, to absorb some of that water so it just doesn't get moved on. If there were other people living in back of you, they'd be the recipient of all that water. In this case, it doesn't happen to go that way. I think personally, if this had come before the commission, we would have looked at this area. The reason your neighbor probably has pavers on the other side is because that might have been something that the commission did request, that it be not a solid surface, but some sort of surface that allows some infiltration. And then the need to carry that concrete all the way past the deck in the back. If the concrete had gone like partially there and then some sort of wrap or some other material that might not have washed out as much, instead of covering such a large area with concrete, would have been something that I think the commission would have discussed with you.
Yeah,
Is this,
I do, just to maybe offer an explanation for that, because again, certainly I would have been nice to save some money and maybe not do that, but I use at the end of the driveway is my deck, and underneath the deck is where I store my boat and just chairs and kayaks and stuff like that. So, but the boat, it's a small boat. It's just like a canoe, basically a rowboat, but it's on a trailer. So it's the only way to kind of get it down there is to be able to, to have that. And again, if it was gravel, it would just keep washing out.
It doesn't go past our deck.
And I understand about the question about the wall. If you wanted to take, I have a picture of that wall. It's only two blocks high for about 10 feet, and then it drops down to one block high. But that's what's the contractors looked at it and they saw all the erosion around my pilings for my deck, and they said, if you don't do something here just to keep that water from hitting those pilings, they're going to get unstable, pretty soon. So, he thought just putting up that small, we say wall, but it's literally it's only, in some cases, 2 cement blocks high, and then down to one cement block high, just to keep the water from eroding the soil all around the pilings. But I certainly understand it, and I'm not kind of using that other lot as an excuse. It was just kind of that's been there for several years, unlike some of the other ones in the other direction that just popped up this past summer. But that asphalt lot's been there for several years, and it's just kind of an example, I guess, is what I'm saying, is that I think in some cases it could spread the water out and keep it from running fast. Like in my case, where it just formed a gully and was going down there, and you could kayak down it. I have videos that unfortunately the file size was so large, but it's amazing the water flowing down there, and in the videos you wouldn't believe it unless you saw it. Of course, you people that live in Scituate, you probably you would believe it. So
when I'm looking at the aerial photo, to the left of so that strip is on the right side of your house as we face it. So on the left side, there's a fairly large area that looks open. There's a couple of cars parked in it. Is that your property as well?
it is.
And
It
what's
is.
the surface on that side?
That's all gravel there. And that was, I didn't include pictures just to not complicate the issue at all, but that right alongside my house is about a 3.5 foot gully now from the last storm, the blizzard storm on the 29th of January. So, I'm going to continue to fill that in with gravel, but that got washed out. But because of the way that the road is pitched, not too much, water flows down that fortunately. Whereas my driveway, just after they did the repaving, a year ago last summer, it just seems like it comes from both directions and right down my driveway. My neighbor's driveway with the cobblestones is a little bit higher, and she gets hardly any water going down her driveway, whereas it all just kind of, it's kind of ironic when you look at it. It just kind of skirts right around hers, and it's just like a funnel, and it goes right down my driveway. So I tried to deal with it the best way I knew. And again, it was a timing thing. I really felt I had to get something done, and it was right before winter. Even as it is, he didn't finish. He started on the 1st of December. He didn't finish until the 23rd. So it took him 3 weeks to do that work. And in a sense, it was fortunate. He finished it right before we started getting those freezes, where that wouldn't have been good for any of the work he did.
So in the commission, I think if you were listening to other hearings, there was discussion about a person asking to build a garage in an area that they're in the resource area. And there's a couple of others. And oftentimes when people look to build something that may not be allowed or it's discouraged, that we look for what we call mitigation as a way to offset some things that wouldn't normally be conditioned. And I'm looking at this, it's frustrating. We try to work with a number of different people. You could have a neighbor that has requested paving or doing some work in their yard. We deny it, they don't do it. And then they drive down the street and see someone else like yourself going ahead and doing something that we told them they couldn't do. If everybody just decides, well, I'll do it and face the consequences, that doesn't, it's not a great way to attack this thing. We're trying to look at this for a number of people that live across here and not trying to make sure other people get impacted. What you did doesn't seem to impact your neighbors very much. Maybe it solves some of your problems, but how far back does your property go in back of the house? Do you know?
Well, the total lot is 70 feet
I don't know
from
how
the
you-
road.
So
from
how
the
much
sidewalk.
land in back of your house do you think you have before it goes to somebody else's property?
Oh, I guess it's the town property behind my house, and just a couple of feet, maybe 3 or 4 feet.
And then it turns to town of Scituate property?
Yes, sir.
I mean, my feeling would be that it's too bad at the end of this area that you paved, that you didn't create an area of larger stone or something that would sort of slow that water down or hope it would permeate that. I know in a real bad storm, a lot of it doesn't matter because everything's just going everywhere.
Yeah, actually, I did. I thought I mentioned that in the work plan thing, but I do have a picture. It's probably the last picture in there that shows the bottom of the repaired driveway. Might be the last picture in the package, but I did put like 6-inch riprap. I just went back because I wasn't, again, not wanting to take it upon myself to start doing that sort of stuff. I just thought it would make good sense to put some at the end of the driveway. So there was some, I did have some stone put there, and very little of it actually washed away in that last storm. That was kind of my, I'm like, all right, this kind of actually works, whereas before that stuff was washing down there and there was a gully, even, all the way down to where you see where all that sand deposit is, in the upper right. So that's
I
where
can see some of that in a picture. It still looks like this earth and stuff that gets washed down there.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if more of that could be placed there
I mean,
at the end of the driveway to stop more erosion.
I mean, I certainly could, if that's a decision. And the water's still gonna come down there, so it's gonna get to the marsh one way or the other, but, certainly that could help, slow it down.
Anybody want to comment? Anybody else?
I think I'm good.
One thought, Frank. I mean, if we had done this the right way, we would have required a delineation of the resource area, right?
Yep.
To base our decision. And so even now we're sort of making this blindly without that delineation. Is it helpful to have it delineated and see what we're working with as a step, and then try to make a call from there? Is one thought. And then my other question that I've seeing that wall now, which I understand was put in to protect the deck pilings, but if I'm looking at the pictures right, it looks like that's sending water over to the neighbor's deck pilings. So I am concerned with that wall is actually grown, because it seems like kind of pushing a problem with this deck to the people next door. Those are the two things I've thought about recently.
Yeah, I did actually, with permission of my neighbor, I had the driveway, extended over a little bit, to fill in some of that. But yeah, I mean, certainly some is getting over there. But based on what I saw in the storm, it seems like most of it kind of flowed straight down the driveway and off the end of the concrete. But, possibly there's something better that can be done there as well.
There's a wall that seems to separate your driveway from your neighbors. It's a little hard to tell
I don't think so.
in this picture, but I'm looking at one with like this water flowing in the two driveways, and your driveway has more water, or the driveway's not there at that, in those pictures, but there's quite a bit of water rushing between that wall and your property, but on the neighbor's side, there's very little. Just that cement block wall that separates the two of you, that's still there, and do you know if that's yours or is it your neighbor's?
Yeah, so probably if you went back to the picture of the damage, you can see that wall better. It's wooden underneath there. It's like 6x6s. And
Yep.
that was my neighbor had that put in when she had her driveway done. So,
You have a
So is there
full
anything,
foundation, though.
is there anything that really separates your driveway and your neighbors now, or are they just sort of
no,
joined?
yeah, they're, well, I mean, she's got her driveway and which is the cobble, and then there's right down the middle of that. It's hard to see in this picture, but she's got cobblestones that stick up about 4 inches. And then right about that picture we're looking at now, right about where it says completed driveway on the left, from that point up to the street, she has 6x6 timbers in. So, and it's only about like one high, because they're all buried, but that wall goes down about 3 feet, which was needed to, build her driveway up, and when that was done, to keep it from collapsing, I guess.
Is anybody else, any other commission members have any other comments or? Penny?
How can I say this without being real bad? But Mother Nature, that ocean, you just can't do this stuff. You can't do it. And I just I understand you're trying to make your situation better, but it's wrong what you did, sir. It's wrong. And if you're pilings under your deck are getting washed away. You gotta fill it in after every storm like everyone else. I mean, that's part of living where Mother Nature doesn't want us to live anymore. You know, the ocean is gonna come through and we're supposed to let it just flow through. I mean, this is not right, what happened here. And you've really opened a Pandora's box to create a bigger problem for us, for the next guy that comes and asks to do something like that. You should have gone with the cobble like your neighbor. You would have been much more in compliant. I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do. The wall has to go. That's wrong. I'm just very, very distressed by this, Frank.
Amy, thanks, Penny. Amy, to Andy's point about delineating a resource area, is there a way that you think that could be marked, or can we have a little better understanding of that?
Well, I mean, I think in this area, the GIS maps are probably fairly accurate. So that would be one starting point, would be to go off of, you know, GIS mapping of the area. It's basically, it's everything right in the back on town property goes right into BVW.
Right.
That's pretty clear. So it's definitely, it's like, it's within buffer to BVW and it's also within land subject to coastal storm flowage. Which I think because of the BVW in this area, this makes this section of Turner beach. So, I mean, there's no doubt that they're in resource, but so the thing is that, I mean, it's a tough area when it's so altered. You know, it's the same as Glade, same as a lot of Hummerock. And it's clearly, it doesn't make it right. And I completely agree with what you're saying as far as like, it's distressing and permissions should have been sought. And he was partly there, but I guess just got a little, you know, a little anxious about the oncoming winter season, which is tough down there. You know, and so like Penny said, it's part of what's involved with living on the coast. It's a little bit of give and take, you know, and so nice summers, but the winters you're gonna pay for it. And every year, this same owners, you know, they do call the conservation office, and we work with people and we give them administrative permits to return, you know, the sediment and sand that came over the wall and filled in the roadway and onto these lower areas, and, you know, and return it back to the beach. So, you know, it's a group effort where all the residents down there, you know, work collaboratively to return the sand back. I mean, we're pretty familiar with this property. This was the Adams property that was rehabbed, sold like 2016, 17-ish. And I mean, it's an improved house. I don't know.
Well, if this had come to us looking for a project here, more than likely the commission would have conditioned some sort of paver driveway.
Yes,
I'm right.
yes.
That's what we would have said. You know, if you want to have a surface
Yeah.
there, it would have been pavers. So,
No way.
I mean, when you get into real enforcement here, we could be saying, you know what, the concrete's the wrong thing to be there. Concrete's got to come out, and a paver, a compliant driveway should be installed. And that's not an
I just don't think even the pavers would last, sir. With the amount of water that comes down there off the street now. You know, it'd be great, you know, in 2 or 3 years when they finally raise the wall another 3 feet. And I know that's in the works, but you know, until that happens, I think it just, the amount of water, again, I mean, I could, if it was worth it, I could certainly, you know, play the videos for you with the water coming down there, but it's just, it's just crazy how much water comes down that, you know, from across the street and right smack down my driveway. And I mean, you saw the erosion. I mean, it's 4 feet deep, you know, through all that gravel. And I just, you know, if I filled it up with gravel, that would have been the cheap alternative until the next storm. And then all that gravel, you know, 40, 50 yards of gravel will be down in the marsh. And then I'll fill it up with gravel again. And then the next storm, another
I get
40 or
that.
50
I
yards.
guess I understand that dumping more gravel in there or even crushed stone would just get washed away. And say the pavers set properly would have allowed water to wash over the top of it. You've got a concrete piece there. I'm not so sure that the commission would have been enthusiastic about extending that the distance that you did. I hear you're saying that you need to do that to get under your deck, but I think if we were conditioning something with, even with pavers, it probably would have been something like stop where the neighbor's driveway had stopped and let the material beyond that be some sort of stone, hopefully large enough that it wouldn't wash out. You know, more of a larger aggregate or wrap or bigger pieces of stone. I'm kind of trying to figure out what could be done for mitigation here at this point.
Yep. And you know, I'm agreeable. I mean, that one gentleman mentioned about maybe putting some larger stones at the bottom to slow the flow down. I'm certainly willing to do that.
Amy, I don't want to drag this out, but I'm wondering if we could take a look at that and just come up with some sort of mitigation. So at least we're not just walking away saying, well, it's already installed.
Okay, let's take a harder look at it and try to come up with a mitigation plan.
All right.
Are we gonna continue this?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't care
Okay.
if we push this out of till that meeting in April or something either. I don't, in this can,
Yeah, I think that would be good.
all right, maybe when we look at that other property, we could visit this one as well.
So
All
I'll
right.
make can I make a motion, Frank, to
Sure.
continue it to April 4th?
Okay. So that's a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that,
It's Brendan.
Brendan.
Thank you, Brendan. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug, yeah, he's not here. Jen?
Yep.
Andy
Yes.
and Penny.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Request, there's an amendment request for 159 rear glades.
Yeah, so this one is, this is just the request to see if you'll take you take it as an amendment request rather than a new notice. And it looks like Greg might be still on the call if he wants to explain it, but I just think that it's a new septic system is all that I think is going on.
Okay. Greg, are you on?
Yes, this is Greg. Yep. So this is a request for an amendment. We had permitted last year a new septic system at this property. That's what's shown on the screen here. We've since changed the design. It's largely the same. It's the same number of bedrooms, but the septic tanks have been relocated into the front yard, which is a little bit further away from the wetlands. And the leaching field has been changed from a drip dispersal system to a more conventional type of septic system. it's the same scope of the project. It's the same impact to the resource area. We felt it would be appropriate for an amendment. So we submitted a revised plan and a request.
Okay. So Amy, do we have to advertise that?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, it needs to be advertised for a public hearing, so we can get that on for the next meeting, well, actually the second meeting in March.
So I guess tonight you're just asking us, Greg, if it's something that we would consider.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any objection to that?
None from me.
None.
No,
No,
Okay. I mean, you'll still have a chance to hear it and all that, just if someone had any real concern to give Greg a little heads up, but I think that's a reasonable.
Do we need to vote on this, Frank?
No,
Really
this
vote?
is just an informal discussion and it's gonna
Okay.
come to us as an
21st.
amendment.
Yep.
Yeah, just administrative. Yeah, okay, sounds
All
good.
right,
Good.
thank you. Minutes,
I read 'em.
I
Wow.
make a motion, we accept the minutes of 124 as written.
Second,
all in favor? Jen,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brennan,
yes,
Frank, yes. Okay,
Okay, and we have orders of condition for 145 Jericho and 162 Jericho. I make a motion, we accept both orders of condition as written.
can I get a
Okay.
second?
Second, Andy.
Second.
Second from Andy. All in favor, Richard,
yes.
Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
yes.
Frank, yes. Okay. Anybody else? Amy, do we have anything else?
No, we didn't add anything on. I mean, we could talk about anything that you want to add on, I suppose, but we get to meet again next week, so we could also save it for next week.
Andy, I hope by next week to have a couple of answers on that fencing. And I think we're gonna meet with the TA this week, Amy.
Yeah, were you good for Wednesday, Frank? And
Sure.
Andy maybe too?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect. Awesome.
What
Okay.
was the time on that?
12:30.
12:30 Wednesday.
Okay, great.
Okay. And I snowshoed yesterday all around Appleton, Crosby, and it was a great walk in the woods. Looks good out there. And maybe someday, Jen, will round up these scouts and get these.
Get the signs up.
Maybe. All right. What was that, Penny?
You heard me.
All right. Okay.
She said, thank you for all of your help, Frank.
Yeah, that's what. All right.
Make a
Anybody
motion
else?
to adjourn?
I like that one.
Second,
Okay, all in favor? Jen?
Yep.
Andy?
Yeah.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
night.
Hey.